Hi friends, I'm Forrest Woolman back with you here at the Electric Bike Report. And right now I'm going to tell you about an adventure touring e-bike called the Samurai. It's made by a company with a cool name, Zen e-bikes. Now this Samurai, it's the brainchild of Zen e-bikes founder and e-bike long distance world record setter, Ravi Kempaiah. Riding over 5,100 miles in 34 days on a bike similar to this one, Kempaiah pushed the boundaries much farther out in the public's perception of how far an e-bike can go. However, you don't need to have record-setting aspirations to want this e-bike. It can simply lend itself to a premium commute or inspire you to take in a national park or a stretch of coast in your e-bike community. Once you hop on this bike and take it on your first ride, I think you'll find you'll want to keep riding the Zen Samurai on future adventures too. So stay tuned here on the Electric Bike Report channel as we review the Zen Samurai Adventure Touring e-bike. Now before I begin, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button and notification bell on your screen. Doing so helps support our channel, which enables us to bring in more bikes to test and review, and it will let you know of any future videos we post featuring e-bike content you would like. Now whether you're a distance rider or weekend explorer or someone who wants high-performance bike for awe-inspiring shorter trips, the Zen Samurai is the bike for you. It rides like a top quality e-bike, is designed by high performance bike professionals, and it gives you a ton of value for an e-bike in the mid $4,500 range. The real heart of the Zen Samurai is the Bosch 250 watt mid-drive motor, the Bosch 13.4 amp hour battery, the Enviolo internal gear hub, and the Gates carbon belt drive, all of which combine to give an awesomely advanced ride that will make you want to keep riding. So anyways, this bike we tested has some optional components though, like the Fox forks, the Magura MT5 brakes, and the Connect suspension seat posts. We know from experience that the Manitou Machete air fork and Magura CT4 brakes that come standard on this bike are good components for this base model also. So regardless of whether you get the base model, premium model, or a customized version in between, the Zen Samurai gives you a lot of value for your money, as well as giving you an adventure bike riding experience like no other. Take a look at the key specs for the Zen Samurai Adventure Touring Bike. This is a Class 3 e-bike with pedal assist up to 25 miles per hour, and there's no throttle. Power to the wheels are delivered by the Bosch Gen 4 mid-drive motor, generates up to 85 Newton meters of torque. And it's UL certified, which is something we'd really like to see with all e-bikes we review. Energy from the motor also comes from Bosch. It's a Bosch PowerTube 500 battery, 36 volts, 13.4 amp hours, 482 watt hours. It's a lithium-ion battery, and it's also UL certified. Now the anticipated range on this bike is 50 miles with a single battery, and in a couple of minutes I'll go more into detail when I cover the results of the range test. Now this bike comes with a super fast 4 amp charger that will charge your battery in about 2 hours. Something that's both unique and highly effective for distributing the motor's power to the rear wheel is the Enviolo CVT 380 internal gear hub. Now CVT stands for continuously variable transmission, and it changes gears way better than a derailleur and cassette would. I rode this bike on 3 20-mile rides, which featured a lot of hills, a lot of gear shifting, and it was super easy. And I also love being able to downshift while I'm stopped, something you can't do with the derailleur and cassette. The other great thing about this internal gear hub is that the gears are enclosed and protected. They can withstand a lot of use and in some cases abuse, and they need very little maintenance. Now instead of using a chain, which is greasy and noisy and old-fashioned, this bike uses a clean, quiet Gates carbon belt, which is designed to last up to 6,200 miles. Brakes on this bike, they're the optional Magura MT5s with 4 piston calipers and 160 millimeter rotors. The standard ones are the Magura CT4 with dual piston calipers, 160 millimeter rotors. Front suspension is from a high quality Fox AWL 34 fork. It's got 120 millimeter wheel travel and connected to these 27.5 inch wheels. Now when I took this bike out on bumpy trails that had a lot of ditches and loose rock, it was easy for me to fine tune the rebound dampening with the adjustment knob on top of the fork, and that gave me the right level of firmness. The frame is a 6061 aluminum alloy, total weight of the bike 56 pounds. This test bike is the 20-inch large size frame, and that's for riders who are 5'8" to 6'1". You can also get this bike in small, medium, and extra large too. And basically their size ranges cover anything from riders who are 4'11" all the way up to 6'5". You also have a choice of frame colors. Besides the red, you can also get blue and black. The handlebar, this is Zen's custom aluminum alloy, 680 millimeter width, which I thought was really good for stability and control, and it was really comfortable for me. The tires are Schwalbe's Super Moto-X, and they're 27.5 by 2.4 inches. Also, this Connect seat post doesn't have a spongy feel like you feel with other units. This one provided the compression and rebound that I needed only when I needed it, and it was usually drop-offs that were at least 8 inches higher or more. The saddle here, it's made by Ergon SF3 gel. There's also an optional female one you can get too. A lot of options with this bike you can get. Rear rack, made by Rack Time, 55-pound capacity. Comes also with pannier and loops for your bungees. This bike also comes with a comprehensive 2-year warranty, lifetime warranty on the frame. So that pretty much covers most of the key specs. What I haven't covered here is covered in my in-depth written review, and that's located on the Electric Bike Report's website. You can read that by checking the link below. But now let's dive into our testing data to show how the motor, battery, and brakes all perform on the Zen Samurai. Now, e-bikes like the Zen Samurai can travel at a pretty fast speed, so we like to make sure the braking is up to the task of stopping the rider in a hurry when needed. This is why we perform a brake test. Now, here at Electric Bike Report, we bring bikes up to 20 miles per hour before hitting the brakes and then measuring the distance it takes for the bike to stop. We try to brake as quickly as we can while also maintaining control of the bike in a fashion similar to how you, the average rider, would. We do this multiple times, and then we calculate an average stopping distance. Now, we expected this Zen Samurai to do pretty well in our brake test, considering its lightweight and the premium Magura MT5 brake system, and we were not disappointed. The average stopping distance was 17 feet 9 inches. That is awesome brake test result. The Magura MT5 hydraulic disc set features 4-piston calipers, 180 millimeter rotors, and grabs really well. So these are no cheap fuddy-duddy brakes. They're top-notch quality, giving a top-notch performance. One thing that we would like to see change for the brake system though is for the brake lights to work when the headlight is not turned on. Daytime riders will appreciate that because it will reduce the risk of them being rear-ended by the rider behind them. Now, the average distance among all the e-bikes we test is between 20 and 22 feet. So for this bike to come in at more than 2 feet shorter, that's a bike with a great set of brakes. This should not only make you feel safer, but it should also make you feel more confident when you're out there riding. In order to gain a better sense of motor engagement, we put all the bikes we review on a circuit test. The circuit course is a 1-mile loop with 4 right-hand turns and a 500-foot stretch that climbs 30 feet in elevation. We do the first lap with no motor assistance, then we do the next lap using the first PAS level, which is eco mode on this bike, and then 3 more laps using the next 3 PAS levels each, giving us 5 laps total. This shows us the bike's speed profile and helps us get a sense of how well the motor engages with the rider. If you've ridden an assortment of e-bikes, then you will notice the superior quality of this e-bike as soon as you start riding. It's pretty easy to recognize that this is a nice bike. The first lap on the Samurai using no motor, pedaling that around was a breeze. I almost never say that about pedaling an e-bike without a motor. On the screen, you're seeing the chart that breaks down my average speed in all 5 situations using no motor and then the 4 PAS modes. On PAS 1, Eco mode, took me almost 2 miles per hour faster than my all pedal no motor mode. The power in Eco mode was suitable for an entire ride if I had to ride as far as I could with what battery power I had left. That's excellent because a lot of other e-bikes are too sluggish to ride the whole time in PAS 1. The Tour and Sport modes, PAS 2 and 3 respectively, also had nice acceleration and held a good consistent speed. When switching to the Turbo mode, PAS 4, I was a little bit disappointed with its lack of oomph compared to the previous 3 modes, but it was good enough to help me reach the top of several hills. And I can't really see any reason for riding around all day in Turbo mode. Sport mode was good enough. Turbo mode is more like a difference maker. It's a mode that you use, rather than using for constant riding, it's something that you use for topping hills, getting ahead of slower bikes, and when you need a quick start. Anyways, whatever your desired riding speed is, I think the Samurai delivers good engagement, consistent power output at all 4 PAS levels, and I think you'll be satisfied with what this Bosch motor can do. 2 of the most common questions we get here at Electric Bike Report about a bike is, how far does it go? And how does it do on the hills? So I'm going to cover the hill climbing question in a couple minutes, but first I'm going to talk to you about battery range, how far this bike can go. To determine how far an e-bike can go using the power from the battery, we perform 2 separate range tests. Now in the first test, we used the highest pedal assistance setting, which in this case was Turbo mode, or known as PAS 4. And in the second, we used the lowest assistance setting. In this case, it was the Eco mode, PAS 1. And that establishes a real world value on how far this e-bike will take you in those 2 different modes. When it comes to range, the Zen Samurai is a big league star. And that makes sense because, the guy who started this company and designed this bike is a world record setter in riding an e-bike the longest distance. Again, this bike did not disappoint us in the range test. In the first test, riding in Eco mode the whole time, the dual 13.4 amp-hour batteries took our test rider almost 98 miles at an average speed of 12.2 miles per hour and an elevation gain of 2,100 feet. If he had ridden that on a flat road the whole time, I'm sure it would have easily gone more than 100 miles. Great result. Now on the maximum PAS test, riding in the Turbo mode the whole time, the Samurai took our test rider just under 30 miles at an average speed of 16.01 miles per hour and an elevation gain of just under 500 feet. One thing about the battery that we would also like to see Bosch change is the location of the charging port. It's pretty low to the ground, and if the tab pops open during the ride, there's more risk of kicking up dirt or scum inside that port, which can kind of hinder recharging the battery. Now, I've talked a lot about the battery in the range test for a good reason, but you're probably wondering how the overall comfort and handling was on this long range test. Well, if you've seen my other videos, you'll know I often complain that my butt hurts on long rides, but that didn't happen to me on this ride when doing my 20 miles each time on the bike. Also, my hands, they fit ergonomically on these ergonomically designed grips, and they fit perfectly. Some riders may not know about or even care much about the grips, but once you've ridden using really good quality grips, you notice the difference and you'll really appreciate it. After all, the grips, saddle, and pedals are the bike parts you're touching during the whole ride. Another thing, the geometric design of the frame, the seat, and the handlebars provide good ergonomics and good riding posture to ride comfortably. Okay, now back to the other common question we get about e-bikes. How well does it do on the hills? We were curious to see how well the Zen Samurai climbs steep hills in our hill climb test. Our hill climb test really pushes our test bikes to the limits using one of the highest hills around, Utah's own Hellhole Trail. This trail is 1/3 of a mile long and has a grade averaging 12%. This hill climb is probably longer and probably steeper than any hill that's regularly faced by you, the average commuter, but this test really helps answer the question about an e-bike's climbing ability. We do this test in 2 parts. The first is using throttle only with no pedaling, and the second test involves basic pedaling while using the highest PAS level. Well, this bike does not have a throttle, so we couldn't do the throttle only test. In the maximum PAS test, where we contribute to pedaling at a non-strenuous pace using the turbo mode, that's PAS 4, our climbing time was 2 minutes 10 seconds, average speed 8.3 miles per hour. Now, if you've seen electric bike report hill tests before, you'll notice that the Samurai's time is a bit slower than most, but raw hill time never does justice to a mid-drive motor. The point of the Bosch Performance CX motor is purely to be an additive to the rider's pedaling, not a replacement for the rider's pedaling. All too often, we commonly hear cyclists who haven't given e-bikes a chance yet say, "I'm not ready to give up pedaling," or "I feel like an e-bike is cheating." Well, guess what? This motor will cater to that crowd in a great way. Its specialty is adding another 10 to 40% of what you're already adding by pedaling on the bike. So it keeps the ride feeling natural, and you kind of almost forget that you're getting any help from the motor. After all, e-bikes with mid-drive motors like the Samurai, they're for active cyclists. The Enviolo CVT 380 internal gear hub is also more advantageous to have on this hill climb than having a derailleur or a cassette. Anyone who has tried to change gears going up a hill knows the challenges of trying to shift using a derailleur. But the Enviolo is so much more rider friendly when it comes to changing gears, including up hills. But like with all bikes, you'll still want to focus and downshift from top gear before tackling any sizable hill. And finally, the Hellhole Trail is not for the faint of heart. Many a cyclist has done the walk of shame pushing their bike up that hill. But the Samurai here, along with the help from the Bosch motor and Enviolo gear hub, made the impossible possible, getting us to the top a wee bit out of breath, but feeling accomplished instead of defeated, which is why we appreciate what we can do with this bike as a hill climber. The Zen Samurai has a great package of features, giving this e-bike tremendous value in the $4,000 range. You're also getting an outstanding internal gear hub with the Enviolo, or the even better Norwegian Kinderne 7, the optional one. You're getting an excellent suspension and braking system, whether it be the base Manitou fork and Magura CT4 or the optional upgrades. When you look at other e-bikes in the marketplace and compare their components and performance, you'll find that the Zen Samurai really offers a lot of value for the money you're spending. So if you're serious about your riding and you want an e-bike that has what's needed for adventure touring rides at long distances, then you should really put this bike on your short list. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If so, please click like. If you're not currently a subscriber to our channel, please subscribe. It really helps us get the word out to others about e-bikes. It also lets us let you know when we have new reviews and new information on e-bikes you're interested in. To check out current pricing for this bike, there's a check best price link you can click below. Also, be sure to click the link to our in-depth written review. It has the details I mentioned today, plus a whole lot of other stuff. So that's it for now. I'm Forrest Woolman with the Electric Bike Report. Thanks for watching. I look forward to hopefully seeing you out there on the bike trails sometime. And please remember, keep your hands on the bar, your feet on the pedals, and your eyes on the road. And I'll see you next time here at the Electric Bike Report.